where this complaint gets filed. I don't know if I have to walk downstairs and file it officially with the people in the building, but I need to file a complaint against my fellow coworkers because I am being trolled while I am on the air. We are going to talk about this at the end of hour number one because I do think it is a big story on a day like today. But I am being trolled in our YouTube live stream chat by other people who work in this building who are U of A fans. Because they know that I am a Sun Devil. We've been having some nice back and forth banter in the building this week. Because Koa Pete made his decision and he picked the U of A over ASU this morning on the Pat McAfee show. And I'm being trolled. I got an email sent to me with a graphic welcoming Koa Pete to the University of Arizona. The YouTube chat is trolling me. I mean, I'm being harassed. So I don't know where the complaints get filed for this. But these are unsafe working conditions that I am dealing with here today. More so than the AC, more so than anything else, I am being trolled by my fellow colleagues in this building who are University of Arizona grads. We will talk about Koa Pete a little bit later on here in the program because I think it's fascinating for U of A and I think it's fascinating for the Sun Devils. So we'll talk about that here at the end of hour number one. But it is opening day of the baseball calendar. The first game, Brewers-Yankees, gets underway about a half hour from now, but it is all eyes on tonight, where the Chicago Cubs are in town, 4-game series, but the season gets underway. Zach Gallen starting opening day for the Diamondbacks. It'll be Justin Steele, the lefty, going for the Chicago Cubs, who has already made a start this season. He pitched one of the 2 games that they played against the Dodgers overseas. It did not go well. He enters tonight's game, was doing some pregame prep work, kind of getting some notes written down before tonight's game. And I always write at the top of the notes that I take, the starter, their record. And it's easy. Zach Allen, 0-0, doesn't have an ERA, right? And then I had to write down Justin Steele, and I realized, he does have a record, and he has an 11.25 ERA after his first start. So it didn't go that well for him when he made his season debut when the Cubs lost both of those games to the Dodgers. But the season gets underway tonight, and there's a lot of buzz. There is a lot of anticipation. I think it always bubbles to the surface on a day like today, no matter what your team's expectations are that given year. There's 162 of these. Who knows what's going to happen? And even in a really bad year, you can have some bright spots. You can have some cool moments. So I think everybody on opening day is just jazzed up for their team. They're excited. I mean, I've got my Mets cap on today. Like, I'm ready to go. I'm supporting the East Coast flavor of where I'm from, the team I grew up rooting for. There are my cards on the table for this season for today. And you have that buzz, you have that anticipation, you're ready to go. But then there are the expectations for the season. And some teams know where they stand. The Dodgers know they're trying to repeat. Those are the expectations in LA. We expect to go back to the World Series and try to repeat. The Yankees are trying to go back to the World Series and this time win it. And then there's all those teams that missed. And some markets would say just making the playoffs is a successful year for us. Making it to the LCS would be a successful year for us. So what would define a successful 2025 campaign for the Arizona Diamondbacks? You were in the World Series 2 years ago. You missed the playoffs altogether last year. But you'll land one of the biggest free agents this winter in Corbin Burnes. You have one of the best pitching staffs in all of baseball that's healthy, right? Zach Allen, Corbin Burnes, Merrill Kelly, all healthy. Eduardo Rodriguez, healthy, right? You didn't have those guys at the start of last year. I know Jordan Montgomery out with Tommy John, but he wasn't going to be a part of this opening day rotation. So the 5 guys that you thought you were going to break camp with are all available to you, healthy, ready to go. And that group can match up with any team's group in baseball as one of the best rotations, one of the best starting pitching staffs. So you have that going for you. You have Corbin Carroll. There's some excitement there. Ketel Marte was an MVP candidate. Josh Naylor, one of the new additions to this team to replace Christian Walker. Some young guys like Pavin Smith getting a bigger opportunity to contribute at the big league level. A lot of excitement, a lot of pomp, a lot of circumstance. Just the noise is loud. What defines a successful 2025 season? Is it making the playoffs? Is it going to the league championship series? Is it World Series or bust? What defines a successful season for this team? And I am not trying to purposefully set the bar low. I am setting the bar at what I think is a real, fair, reasonable expectation for this team. One team wins the World Series. It's hard to make that the expectation. Two teams play in the World Series. It's hard to set that as an expectation. The baseball playoffs are a crapshoot. You get to the playoffs in baseball, all bets are off. The Dodgers, who everybody thinks is the best team in baseball, who everybody thinks has a real, legitimate chance to repeat as champions. That team, I've said, can win 117 games and set the regular season wins record. That team was one game away from getting knocked out by the San Diego Padres in the playoffs last year. That team that everybody is calling a juggernaut, is calling bad for baseball, they've become the villain. That team was one game away from missing or not advancing in the postseason. They were one game away from their season being over at the hands of the San Diego Padres. Weird things can happen in the playoffs. A team can get hot with the bats. A pitching staff can neutralize your offense that was a juggernaut all year long. So to me, the non-negotiable, the thing that would define this season as successful for the Diamondbacks in 2025, this team has to make the playoffs. They have to have a seat at the table when it comes to the postseason. And then when you get there, all bets are off. If you get hot, you can have a run like you did 2 years ago. And if you don't, or you go up against another team that is just hot at the right time, that's fine. But this team has to make the playoffs. Not just because of the talent that they have, but because of what may come if they don't. 2 straight years of not making the playoffs, 2 straight years of running the highest payrolls that they have run as a team, and then not seeing the reward of that investment with playoff gates and the playoff TV revenue and everything that comes with being a postseason team. You don't get to share in that pot if you don't make it there. You worry about what next year then looks like. This team has to make the playoffs this year. That is the lens to view this season through. And then when we get there, when they're in the postseason, we can gauge them against all of the other teams that are left standing in the National League. But to me, they are the best non-division winning team. The Dodgers, I think, are going to run away with this division, or at least have a decent lead at the end. But I think the Diamondbacks are going to make it a grind for them throughout the year, and they may pull away late. I think the Diamondbacks are going to be the first wildcard team. That's how good I think this team is on paper. That's how good they looked in the spring. That's how good their pitching staff looked in the spring. That's how excited I am about the addition of Josh Naylor. Seeing Corbin Carroll have a bounce-back year, another year of Ketel Marte maybe being an MVP candidate. All of those things, you add them all up, and the expectations are this team has to make the playoffs. You barely missed last year. You barely missed, and I would argue as we sit here today on March 27, 2025, starting the 2025 season, this team is better than the team that finished the year in 2024, that won 89 games. They're better than that team on paper, and they are better on paper and talent-wise than the team that went to the World Series. So you're better than the 2023 team. You're better than the 2024 team. You went to the World Series in 23. You won 89 games and barely missed in 2024. The bare minimum expectation for this baseball team, how you should view the important series, the important matchups. You should view this season through the lens of this team has to make the playoffs or else it would be a failure. And I don't like using that word very often. It would be a failure if this team doesn't make the playoffs, and you would see a totally different team in 2026. That defines, for me, a successful season. And then if they go on a run, I think it's house money. Get to the playoffs, get to the crapshoot that it is, and see where the chips fall when you get there.